And we are back. We're going to do a quick sound test before we really get into it. Let me just make sure that this is working. Yep. All right. We're good. Okay. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is having a wonderful day so far on this this January 22nd, a Monday. Get your Monday blues out because we're going to try to get that out of the way for you. Have no idea why it is so I wouldn't say blurry, but I would say it's some kind of weird color distortion going on. We'll try to see if we can fix that as the video goes on. And it looks like the time elapse has actually stopped too. That's just awesome. Let's see here. No, it says that it's apparently. I just need to refresh the page. Oh snap, reload your stuff because everything's going down now. Oh man. Okay, there. I guess that got it got a little bit better now. Yeah, cool. All right. I guess now everything is loading back up. Good to see everybody in the stream. I hope everybody's doing well on this January 22nd Monday. After the playoff games for the AFC and NFC championships, and I've taken sort of a 2 or 3 day hiatus to just kind of get myself back into looking at some film because the channel itself has to kind of change and morph as things go on. Plus, I've started to feel sick, and you know that flu thing is going around, so trying to take the vitamin C tablets, trying to keep myself focused for this coming month because it's going to be busy. I'm taking a trip out to, where am I going? I'm taking a trip out to the draft. I'm taking a trip out to the combine if I can make it out there. I'm taking a trip out to Falcons practices in July. I have plenty of soccer games that I'm going to be going to. So this is going to be a very long week, few months for me. First, a week to get kind of acclimated into what kind of content I want to send you guys, and then after that, kind of just getting myself back into the rhythm. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the Falcons' new hiring of Greg Knapp, the offensive coordinator. He was former offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons a long time ago, but he has jumped from team to team, from conference to conference. So there is that really quick. Let me take a drink here. Okay, that's better. Justice Whitehead, and Red Dead Reviews. Good to see both of you guys in the chat. It is one of those things that I've seen that has not taken any, and I say any with a grain of salt. I have not seen any good or bad takes on this on Twitter. I have not seen any good or bad takes on this on any of the websites that I usually go and lurk around. I haven't seen any good or bad takes on this from anyone. Everybody just goes, QB coach, we're shrug. And I look at this QB coach signing. It's a veteran QB coach. He's 50 years old. He has coached the likes of Peyton Manning, Carson Palmer, Trevor Siemian, and Michael Vick, to just talk about a few guys that he has coached as a QB coach in the NFL. And he has been to many teams. He was in San Francisco, Seattle, Oakland twice. He was in Atlanta a long, long time ago. He was QB coach in Denver for a little bit. The last few years he has been in Denver. The last year that Peyton Manning was there and they won the Super Bowl, he was there. He was the one leading the charge to help Peyton Manning to the best of his ability and be able to use the best routes and get him into the best form that he could possibly get a QB. So it's interesting to see Greg Knapp in a Falcons team official shirt and on the front office list going forward. And what does that do for Matt Ryan? I try to look at some of the similarities of Matt Ryan's QB coach versus wherever Greg Knapp went. And the one thing that stood out to me was that Peyton Manning became more of a down-pat quarterback versus any of the QB coaches that have helped out Matt Ryan. Now, you know that, and this is the most interesting thing that I thought that came out of this was, you guys know that Matt Ryan does better with veteran coaching around him because they can then do their job and he can do his. What's going on, PSN? Good to see you in the chat. But you guys know that Matt Ryan as a quarterback does better with veteran coaching around him. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach. He just does better with guys that are directly linked to him with personal experience. Now there may be an outlier with Dan Quinn, who has never actually been a head coach before, was a defensive coordinator in the league for a very, very long time. Jumped around as assistants to defensive coordinators, has really come in and proven that he can be a true coach in this league, that he knows how to make the right calls, and over these past 3 years has really proven himself to be a great head coach. But the fact remains that maybe also the other outlier is that Sarkisian was able to come in here and run a similar offense to what Shanahan had done, not completely 100% the same way, but be able to run something similar. And the Falcons still went 10-6, and Matt Ryan still had a good, not great year. So I think that as far as what Greg Knapp shows as an offensive coordinator, I don't want him anywhere near my offense. I think this Falcoholic actually said it very, very well when they said that Greg Knapp was here, and every time he went to go be an offensive coordinator somewhere else, he was more interested in having a zone blocking running game and running the ball more than he was having his QBs go out there and throw the ball and developing them. And then whenever he went and strictly was a QB coach somewhere, he developed a guy very, very well. So I think Dan Quinn hires this not only on familiarity, but also on the fact that he's not going to have him touch the offense. He's going to have him mentor Sark, and he's probably going to be doing one job in specific, the best job that he can do, which is mentor quarterbacks. Bailey and Canebreak are in the chat. Good to see both of you guys. The Pats unbeatable? No, they are not unbeatable. There are plenty of teams that have had their way in certain scenarios that have beaten the Patriots, and Patriots have had the easiest road in the playoffs, an unproven offense in the Jaguars who, took control of that game. To be honest, and Tennessee before that. So they really haven't had the struggle that Jacksonville had when they beat Pittsburgh and then they beat the team, whoever they played in the first round. I can't even remember. It was like Baltimore or Miami or something nonsense. But that's the Jags have had more to prove up to this point. They finally play the Patriots and they lose by 4. I don't think that's that's not a thing where it's not an accomplishment. That is an accomplishment. That's an accomplishment for the Jags, who have had they're out there doing their thing. The Patriots came out there and got lucky on some plays. You got to get lucky on some plays. When the Patriots meet the Eagles in the Super Bowl here, we're going to see a very interesting clash because, again, I told you, and I've been telling you since we started this stream in 2017 and mid-year 2016, I said, hey, look, this Eagles team is a balanced young team growing, and as long as they play the way that they've been playing, they're going to win. How did they beat the Falcons? They stopped a really good offense from scoring. The Falcons shot themselves in the foot trying to do too much towards the end. How did they beat the Minnesota Vikings? They completely shut down that offense, and then a Vikings defense that was supposed to be one of the best, barely able to squeak out against New Orleans, then played an Eagles team who, offensively, they're more capable. They have a tight end to expose space. They have wide receivers to make the clutch catches, and they have a running game and an offensive line. So, are the Pats unbeatable? No, they are not unbeatable. We've seen them lose Super Bowls. We've seen them lose playoff games. We've seen them lose regular season games. They are not unbeatable, and we can beat them. That's and we is Atlanta in our case, because we will have to eventually play them again at some point. But we can beat them, and I think that any other team can. Any of the other 30 teams in the NFL, not counting Atlanta. Any of the other 30 teams in the NFL can go beat the Patriots. You just got to go out there, play your game, and play better than the officials officiate. That's just straight up. Let me go up to this next question really quick because I saw something else in here. How do you feel about Dan trying to become an all-around coach instead of a defensive-minded coach? He was already a defensive-minded coach, and he has really excelled in creating an atmosphere and a group of guys that are able to morph and change young-minded talent into veteran presence and elite veteran presence, if we want to use that word. But developing the type of players that he's bringing in, you can already see, yes, Dan Quinn, that's great. You're a great defensive mind. As long as you have your personnel and you do it your way, your defense will be a top defense in the league. The other part of this is that Dan Quinn knows that he's weak at offensive play calling and talking about offensive schemes and stuff. And he doesn't want to be unfamiliar with that anymore. And so he's taking it on himself to go out there. He's taking it on himself to go out there and learn from other offensive minds and other capable people what playing offense really means. And that is the sign of a coach, a great coach. That is a sign of a great coach. Bill Belichick has always been a double-edged sword. Defensively, he's always been cut and dry, that guy. Offensively, he's dabbled in it and he's succeeded. Most coaches need to go out there and do something like Belichick does, where he wants to put both hands in both jars and see what he can pull out and learn where his deficiencies are. We talked about this during the 2017 season. Dan Quinn knew that he was offensively deficient, so he brought in Shanahan. He thought he was a little bit better at it this year, so he brought in Sark, knowing that Sark is a great offensive mind. Whether that be at the collegiate level or NFL level, we have yet to be determined as far as the NFL level is concerned. But he brought in Sark going, he does something similar to what we're doing, and he could bring in more. And I'm already wanting to dabble in it. Why don't we learn together by bringing in like-minded people that can kind of tutor us and teach us what we need to do and go forward? I don't know, fans don't want to hear that. Fans don't want to hear that. They want everything to be complete and compartmentalized, and everything has to be in its order and place, and everything has to be chugging along like Thomas the Choo-Choo Train. And every fan is just like the conductor. Go here, take this, go to the Super Bowl and win it. Okay, Thomas. Doot, doot. And that's just not how the NFL works. So Dan Quinn being less of a defensive-minded coach, that's not happening. What Dan Quinn is doing is reaching out and trying to find that offensive mind that he knows is inside of his brain. It's like any one of us trying to learn a new skill or learn a new language, you know? But that's kind of how I feel about that. Let's go down. Should we pursue Jimmy Graham? Him and Hooper could be a lethal duo. Until Hooper goes to the jug machine and really gets those drops out of the way, becomes a more efficient route runner, then Kaylan ATL, going out and pursuing Jimmy Graham before this offensive line is ready and before Austin Hooper has taken that next leap that's a waste of money. Now, that's just my opinion, but I put it down again. Jimmy Graham's not an offensive lineman, and we have two guard problems right now. An Andy Levitri that's constantly hurt, and a right guard that, I mean, are you really going to put a former defensive tackle in Ben Garland, guy that was jumping side to side from offensive line to defensive line, not ever sticking one place? I mean, he did better than Wes, but I mean, heck, Wes was getting better as the year went on, just wasn't as fast as Falcons fans wanted it to be. So, in my mind, going out and grabbing Jimmy Graham when you could go put out money for a high-paid right guard or left guard and shore up this line a little bit more, it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, you should be going out and trying to give Matt Ryan the chance to succeed. Why put more weapons out on the field when you already have some weapons? You've got two gaping holes in the line, you know? So I don't know where Graham's going to go. He's going to ask for stupid money. That's all I know, is that Jimmy Graham will ask for stupid money, and we should not pay stupid money on a tight end. A tight end's a tight end. There are plenty of those in the sea. We can go find those. Offensive linemen who can block for you, who can be consistent every year. That's tough. That's tough chugging. I know people are excited about getting Jimmy Graham, but once you have Jimmy Graham for a little while, the excitement, the sheen, the shine is going to kind of fall off, and you're going to see the underbelly that is Jimmy Graham and not having an offensive line. How is Matt Ryan supposed to get the ball to Jimmy Graham if he doesn't have anybody blocking for him in front of him? There's two turnstiles, one on the right and one on the left, and Alex Mack can only choose one hole or the other without creating a hole right up the very middle. It's gonna be hard for him to do anything, and it's gonna be hard for Matt Ryan and Sarkisian to call any plays. It would be fascinating to see him come to Atlanta. So Greg Knapp in for the Atlanta Falcons QB coach job, veteran guy, taught Peyton Manning, taught a little bit to Carson Palmer, was here during the Michael Vick years, made Michael Vick a better passer, even though I don't know, he wasn't that great. But hey, man, it is what it is right now. I like the Greg Knapp signing. It's mature. It's bringing in guys that know what they're doing, and Dan Quinn going, I'm deficient at this. This would be nice if we could just kind of put it back together. Let's see. Let's roll down. Rise Up Nation. Let's get it better. This also include the sports channel. Support the channel. Oh, thank you, Terrell Powell. I appreciate it, buddy. Let's see here. I want a mauler at guard. We need someone who is strong as hell. And we have finesse linemen. Well, we have finesse linemen because of the scheme that we run. So you're asking for a change of scheme. You can have a mauler who is quick. You can see that in some of the guards that are in this particular year's draft, or in some of the drafts from before that have gone out and run that particular scheme. Sorry, I was just reading something. But it's funny to see this group get ready to go into draft, go into free agency, and grab veteran guys. I mean, listen to the press conference over and over. Listening to that, you hear the conviction in Thomas Dimitrov's voice of, we're going to get Matt Ryan paid priority number one, and that's going to free up money for us to spend. Where are you going to spend that money? In free agency. Why are you going to spend it in free agency? Because you just signed your main quarterback, your main guy, the franchise guy, and you don't have anything blocking for him on both the interior right and left sides. So that's where we're going to go. I mean, listening to that, he was more than happy to say that Coleman needs to prove everything to the Atlanta Falcons and to the NFL. Wordage is everything. When you say that you're going to need to prove everything to not only Atlanta, but to the rest of the NFL, that is a trade call to trade Tevin Coleman out and grab players or picks. And I wonder where Tevin Coleman will end up in the future. He said there's plenty of ample opportunity that Tevin Coleman can be re-signed, and both Tevin and Freeman can coexist in the same system and same team. But that's for something else right now. So free agency right now, since I've kind of see the chat kind of talking about a couple different things, and please do continue to discuss in the chat what's going on. I appreciate you guys talking and mingling. It is it's a lot of fun to see you guys with your different ideas and different ways of thinking. Ramon Jackson, good to see you. Rise up. So where do the Falcons go in free agency? What available free agents can we go and grab since we've signed Greg Knapp as a QB coach to kind of mentor Ryan? I wouldn't say particularly teach him, but mentor him to be a more effective quarterback in his later years. I wouldn't say that they're twilight years, but they are years nonetheless that are getting older and older. He ain't getting any younger. Jared Mays, good to see you. Rise up. But the major pieces that are going to be popping out into free agency this season, and maybe we can go grab somebody that is on the lower priced ticket that can come in and shore up a guard spot. But there's two questions. Number one, are you confident in either the guy that we picked up in this year's draft, Wes Schweitzer, or in Ben Garland to shore up the right guard position? Are you confident in any one of the three guys that we already have to come in and play on your right guard? And number two, where do you go with the left guard situation with Andy Levitri only on a 1-year contract left, and he's been injury prone? A guy who, by the way, is also sitting next to another guy who we have to figure out what we want to do as far as payment. Jake Matthews is on that last year of his deal type of situation right now. And we've got to figure out what we want to do with Jake. Jake seems like a guy that I could just pay an extensive contract, but make it an extensive contract for a guard. Move him inside and go out there and grab a tackle. That springs up another question. What tackles are out there that are hitting the free agent market that aren't already under contract somewhere? So those are some of the questions that I'm talking about. And Jake does, yeah, you are right, Burton VDP. It's very interesting to think about in the realm of possibility, in the realm of scenarios, not in real life right now, that we're talking about Jake Matthews as a possible guy to switch into the guard position and get closer to Alex Mack and be more accountable for what he's doing. And then possibly going out there into free agency and grabbing yourself a left tackle for the next couple of years. If not, then you can go into this first round of the NFL draft and find yourself, if the defensive tackle position is desolate, you can go into this round and go get yourself a top tackle. Question is, will there be a top tackle at 26/27? And I'm not thinking that there will be anybody worth your weight in gold at the 26-27 position. We'd have to jump. So here's another question for all of you guys. Do we go and trade up in this draft from the 26th spot? 10 spots from there, which is a lot, by the way. That's a lot of money. 10 spots from there is 16. Who could be at 16 to 20 that would be worth our time and investment at either the tackle position, defensive tackle position, so that's left tackle, defensive tackle, or possible guard position that we could go and grab? Those are the major questions that every Falcons fan should be asking right now. How do we move around this line to make it effective for Matt? And will a transition of Jake Matthews, if we go that route, be kind of stunted because he'll get that contract? And will he be enough playing with a rookie left tackle? Or is it easier for us to slot in a guard somewhere? Those are the burning questions I think everybody should be asking themselves. Trade Coleman with a rookie contract and go up and get a left tackle. Not a bad idea. Dimitrov said he's going to be aggressive in free agent this year. He did say that, and the year before, and the year before that, and that is just really something to rile up the fans. And I would not hang my hat on aggressiveness in the draft when we have a cap situation right now where we paid a lot of people. So, veteran guard in the offseason, young or veteran defensive tackle in the draft. I'm with you, Bailey. I completely agree that that's where we're probably going. Agreed on trading Coleman. We don't use him correctly anyway. We do, in certain spots, use Tevin Coleman in the right situations. My question is, and especially since we were using more Coleman than Freeman in the playoffs, and then when Coleman got hurt, we had to bring in Freeman and we started to struggle. Have we signed the wrong running back to a long-term deal? Is it turning out that Coleman is the better pass-catching back, outside running back, and eventually morphing himself into a better third down chain mover? I think versatility-wise, that, and I'm kind of reading Kalon while he's typing that stuff out. I think versatility-wise and full utility belt right now, Coleman is our Batman, and Freeman is kind of Robin. That's not to say that Robin's a bad person, or that Freeman's not a good player. I would say along the lines of this, that Freeman right now is the better inside running back, and he does catch the ball to some extent around the same capacity that Coleman can. But when I see Coleman go out there, he flashes on the field. When I see Freeman go out there, it's against teams that don't have very good interior lines that Devontae Freeman is able to shine and go out and perform, because then our offensive line is also able to go out there and perform. So I'm not here to rile up the Falcons fans of, do we have the wrong back, and is Coleman better than Freeman? I'm just putting this out here that we've seen Coleman shine. We know what Devontae Freeman is. Just an easy question, not riling anybody up. And if you did get your jimmies kind of riled up and they're twisted, just untuck them just a little bit, stand up, untuck the jimmies, and then come back to me. It is important to understand that Tevin Coleman has been a great draft pick. Great draft pick. Can you really let him go? Can you really let him go? Can you really? Because you're really just doing a 1-for-1, by the way. You're really just doing a 1-for-1. When you trade Coleman out, that is it. Because you're most likely going to go after another running back. See, the whole problem is that Tevin Coleman's so good and Freeman's so good that when you go to trade Coleman away, who's behind Coleman? Ward? And Ward is just another Freeman if we're talking about running style. Freeman and Ward are the same style of runner. Now you don't have that extra threat outside, catching the ball, zone blocking scheme, outside zone. You don't have that same versatility anymore because you don't have another guy that can do that, because Freeman's not that go-ahead runner, dart up the field kind of guy. So my question is, are you really going to do a 1-for-1? Because the kid out of Wyoming, can't even remember his name, Brian, whatever his name. That Brian kid was supposed to come in here and challenge Coleman and Ward for the job, and Brian Hill, and he couldn't even run better than Ward. And so he fell. And that was supposed to be our answer to the possibility of losing Coleman this coming season. Now we're backed into a corner. So that's just an overview of what has happened in the 2017 season leading in the 2018 draft and free agent talk. Is that sign Greg Knapp to be your new QB coach, and he is definitely going to do a good job with Matt Ryan. He's done a great job with Peyton Manning. He did a great job with Trevor Siemian before he left, and Trevor had a terrible 2017 season. It is funny to watch the Falcons. Oh, Brian Hill's going to be the solution, and if we lose Coleman, then we'll have Ward and Freeman and Brian Hill. And Brian Hill doesn't turn out, and now you have to pay Tevin Coleman, or you're going to trade him 1-for-1 and restart this whole cycle over again with a guy like Ronald Jones, the second or third from USC, or go grab a guy in this draft in the later rounds and hope that he turns out to be another Coleman. It's funny, and it's not at the same time, to see a guy like Coleman succeed, and then we get backed into a corner because we found a gem and we have to get rid of him. We have to move that piece, or we have to full on pay the man, which is just hilarious. Oh yes, we definitely messed up on drafting Hill. That's been my number one for 2017, was we messed up on drafting Brian Hill, because Brian Hill in earnest was supposed to be the guy that was going to come in and be electrifying and hopefully take Teron Ward's spot, who's been good, not great. And then Teron Ward starts to really show up because he's developing, because when you go under Dan Quinn, apparently you develop, versus when you're under Mike Smith and you don't develop ever. It's funny to watch Coleman develop, become a great player, and now he's out there and everybody's like, wow, Tevin Coleman will be a free agent next year. Can't wait for that. Maybe we'll scoop him up. And as a Falcons fan, you go, man, I know it's easy to go find a running back in the draft or go find a guy that's on free agency and whatnot. But man, letting up Tevin Coleman, he could go start somewhere. He could be a starter somewhere, lead a team. He could be on the Niners next season running for Kyle Shanahan, and that would be awful. So my thought process here is Freeman, Coleman right now, two great running backs. Where do you go with that? Since we already talked about the offensive line, where do you go with that? Running backs, where do we go with that? And then wide receivers, it's funny. I see so many mock drafts with Christian Kirk as the pick for Atlanta. Wide receiver. And while I don't think that that's a terrible idea, and I have said this for quite some time, actually, the same draft that Sammy Watkins went, I really, really thought that we were going to take Sammy Watkins in that draft. Same draft that Sammy went, I was pleading the case to go get a wide receiver. Didn't happen. And now here we sit. Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Justin Hardy, Nick Williams, Gabe Hall. That's what we got. So the question is, when Gabe and Nick Williams as free agents both lead the team, and all we've got is Sanu, Jones, and Hardy, who out there should we go grab? Anybody in free agency that we could. And I like how the chat is going, oh, we need a number 2 wide receiver. It's kind of funny to me to see all the teams in the NFC South, New Orleans, Carolina, Tampa, really stress on getting wide receivers for their teams. And Atlanta has kind of been like, you know what's better? Like kind of getting our defense set. You know what's better? Going out and spending some money on Alex Mack. You know what's better? Going out there and grabbing some more defensive pieces. You know what's better? Making sure that we have a quality tight end. And then that has been or two quality running backs. Atlanta has been like that. Atlanta has been the team. And if you kind of want to look at it this way, Atlanta has been the team that's, unless it's a top flight wide receiver, they're not grabbing him. Mohamed Sanu, go grab him in free agency. Maybe he'll do something. Turns out that he did do something. Julio Jones, we traded way up to go get. Hardy was a 4th round pick, 5th round pick. And up to this point, I haven't seen any top flight wide receivers enter into the Atlanta Falcons. It's not usually the case. So you've got some depth problems at wide receiver, which will probably be addressed in free agency / going into the back end of the draft. It's funny. I don't like going out and picking up high-priced free agents or going into the draft and drafting what I call hood ornaments for an engine. Drafting flashy. I would love to have Nick Williams actually produce, but he was only producing when Shanahan was here and Sark came in and he just looked awful. Actually, reverse, Hardy looked bad while Shanahan was here and now he looks good during the Sark years. So I know it's only been one year, but how many number 2 wide receivers can stretch the field? Not many. Sanu can do that. Sammy Watkins can go do that. I don't know who the number 2 or number 1 is in New York, but they've got a couple of guys that can stretch the field, number 3 and number 2. So yeah, there's that. Everybody needs to learn to catch. Well, you know, that's a huge part of football. Let's put something else out really quick too. I don't know about you guys, but the way that Shanahan used his wide receivers was very fast-paced, very methodical. He needed some short guys, and he had Julio Jones. He knew it was set. But he had some short guys. He had some guys that go out and just not really stretch the field, but just really burn you for a few yards, you know? And that's not how Sark plays. So maybe that's why Gabe suffered. Maybe that's why Gabe suffered. Gabe suffered because Sark didn't know how to use him. Sark knew how to use Julio Jones because that's the type of wide receiver he's always had. And Mohamed Sanu, no problem. He's a veteran wide receiver. He knows how to use him. Well, he sees little old Gabe, and he's, I don't know, man. Don't know how I'm going to use you. Let's try to use you the way that Shanahan did. And so Sark does something that is obviously a bad idea. Try to copy what Shanahan does instead of doing what Sark does best. And then it fails. Excuse my burp. I'm definitely getting sick. I can feel it. I feel it in my bones that I am getting sick. So as far as film breakdowns are concerned, because I want to kind of get this out of the way really quick. As far as film breakdowns are concerned, it is going to be a very treacherous time for me. This channel has to morph and change just a little bit. As news comes out and as signings come out and things of that nature, when we get into free agency, when we start meeting with people for the draft, I will start doing film breakdowns on the guys and gals that we are talking to. So for me, the channel, this is going to be the slow part of the year. Just these next 2 months are going to be slow. All right, I hope you guys stick with me, but it's going to be slow. We got the rest of January, not much of January left. And then February, Super Bowl comes on. Okay, that's about it. And then March comes around. That's when things kind of speed up. So for February, especially since my wife and I got some interesting news, and we're kind of waiting out for the next couple of months to see what happens. But for February, I am going to really push hard some of the video gaming that I'm doing. So, and I'm going to have a new format up on the screen. So you're going to have the same chat and whatnot, but we're going to condense some of this stuff on here. And we are going to put some new stuff on the face of this and whatnot. And for the next couple of months, especially since, summer is a dead month too, for the next couple of months, I'm going to be doing film breakdowns on any of the players. There's a possibility PSN, but we're just we'll see what happens. We will have as people come out and we start talking to them from free agency and we start signing them, I'll start doing videos on those people. And when we start talking to people on, pro days and at the combine and whatnot, and when that news comes out, I'll start doing videos on those people as well. But I am going to be really, really pushing Twitch and Mixer, okay? So if you guys know anything about Twitch, go and hit me up at twitch.tv Unintentional Grounding. That is where we're at. That's actually where I will be going a little bit later. And then after that, please go head over to my Mixer as well. I think I have the link for that. Let's see here. Why is that? Let's see if it'll pull it up for me. Because then I can put that in the chat for you guys to go and see. I'm feeling kind of sick. So if I can go from here to Mixer and just go lay down for a minute, that might be a good idea. Here we go. All right, everybody go to that one right there. That's my Mixer page, and I will be doing a lot of video gaming stuff on Mixer. I'll be playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. I'll be playing some Call of Duty. I'll be playing some Madden, some FIFA. I'll be playing some role-playing games. I'll be taking your questions in the chat. It'll all appear on the screen. And also on my Twitch, I'll be able to do that as well. Twitch.tv/Unintentional Grounding. You guys can go and check that out as well. I'm going to head from here and go to Mixer, go sit down. I am starting to feel sick, and that flu stuff is coming around here. So I'm going to head from here, go sit down, play some video games for a bit, entertain you guys there. But just stick around with the channel. We're going to have more film breakdowns as we go. Don't understand how the Vikings got blown out like that. Like, come on, this is the NFC Championship, for good's sake. Maybe wonder, we beaten the Eagles, we would have beaten the Vikings the same way. If the offense had been able to actually make some plays, then yes, we would have beaten the Eagles. And then the Eagles, like I've said, since 2017, the Eagles are the most balanced young team in the NFL right now. Defensively, they're a better team than a lot. And they completely outcoached the Vikings yesterday, and they beat them down. So in my mind, they're probably the only hope. If you don't like the Pats and you're okay with the Eagles winning, then I would root for the Eagles in this coming Super Bowl. I, however, do not have a horse in this race. My wife is a Pats fan. I despise the Pats with passion, but I understand that if you just can't beat them, then it's not their fault, it's yours. So we will see how this plays out. If the Pats win another Super Bowl, Super Bowl. Shrug on to 2018. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Shrug. It's none of my business unless it's the Eagles fans in here in my chat that want to hear that, or the Pats fans in the chat that want to hear that. Go Eagles or go Pats. None of my business. None of my business. Only bit of my business that I have is the upcoming film breakdowns that we're going to be doing on draft players, the upcoming film breakdowns that we're going to be doing on free agents that we sign, the upcoming trips that I have to take to the combine and to the draft and to Falcons camp, and the film breakdowns that we will do on Falcons drafted players. That is it. That is all I'm thinking about, other than whatever me and my wife are going to be doing over these next couple of months, and I hope that it all works out. And at the same time, getting my Mixer and Twitch up in the air and it flying. So if you would not mind going to the Mixer, I'm actually literally getting off of here and going on to Mixer and going to go play some video games. If you would not mind going over there, I will talk more Falcons football with you over there on Mixer. And then we'll try to get the Twitch somehow incorporated in this, because I feel like the Mixer is an easier way for me to get what I need to do done. So Debo and Mac. True. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Go to the link that I put into the description here. mixer.com/GodyRamSam. That is in the description of the video. You guys can check that out. And it's in the chat as well. I am heading off to Mixer now to go play some games, rest. Hopefully I'm not getting sick. If I get sick, I'm going to be so upset with myself, because I've done everything in my power to make sure that I don't get the flu and don't get sick like everybody else is going on. If I do get sick, I am sorry, but I will talk to you guys on Twitter. I'll talk to you guys on Instagram. I'll talk to you guys on Snapchat. If for some reason I get badly sick, you guys, I hope that you understand the situation that I'm in. But thank you guys. Appreciate it. See you guys on Mixer. And as I always say on these live streams, you are listening to nothing but the truth, nothing but the facts. And thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Rise up and peace out.